Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome. My name is Nori. I'm coming to you live from the digital engineering server. This is modded Minecraft Valhelsia 3, and this is our mess. So, like we discussed last Friday, I thought we would take tonight's community night. Well, we're going to look at what people have been up to on the server. I also thought it would be a good idea to, like we discussed, actually go into spectator mode and take a real hard look at what happens below the surface that you can't really see. So, first, let's start out here. We've done some biggest updates that have happened here at my base is down here in the complicated clockworks. Yeah, it's a little dark in here. Bear with me one second while I find a light switch, which should be... There we go. There we go. We'll get some lights on in here. So last week during our Saturday morning coffee, we did get our blaze cake farm up and rolling. So basically right now our limiting factor is chicken eggs, I believe. So if we reach in here, I don't think I actually have any eggs in here. No, I have eggs in here. Yeah, so if we grab a little bit of eggs, let me drop it right in here. That should be enough to kickstart everything back running again. You can see that there is definitely lava being generated in the back. We have a lot of lava being generated, which is really good. There we go. Eggs come in, hands go into operation, and we get blaze cakes. So this works double as a lava generator as well as a blaze cake generator. Because you kind of use one to feed the other. But the nice thing is you actually use, you make more lava than what you actually generate. Or, excuse me, you make more lava than what you actually use blaze cake wise. So you actually make a surplus of these and a surplus of this as it goes along, which is nice. I did wire in a bunch of immersive engineering lights in here. Yeah, I was going to try and keep this all Create, but there was Create does not really have a good light source on its own. We also did put up the chocolate farm. So honey's milk is being diverted in two different directions. The first, obviously, to make sweet rolls. When there's actually, you know, wheat to make sweet rolls. Should be one coming. There we go. Now we can see the machine over there making the bread. And then there goes our handy dandy hand. And there we go. We have sweet rolls. But we also have a let's grab a flight jacket for just a second. So this is getting us cocoa beans here. There we go. And then the cocoa beans is what's getting us chocolate. And so the chocolate goes down here. And we get chocolate bars for our trouble whenever it wants to actually give us chocolate bars. There it goes. And so there we have it. Chocolate bars. No real reason for having chocolate bars. Like, none that I can think of. But, you know, if we wanted it, there we go. We have them. So I put this in. This is just to lock the system. Because again, when we leave the area, this chunk unloads, and so depending on where this guy sits at, it could actually pick up these jungle logs. It'll just break them. It's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. So we did go out of our way to make an alternator, excuse me. And so we've got the alternator tied via create connector on both ends and a create copper wire to a low voltage capacitor And basically all of these powered lamps are being run from our create contraption. Now, interesting enough, there is just enough power generation off this thing at a low speed that if I turn that to 32 rotations, RPMs, which is the minimum it requires, it is enough to turn off all the lights in this place. And then if we want lights again, we can turn it up. Now, turning it up faster than that would actually charge the capacitor. And so all that would mean is that the lights will stay on a little longer once we turned it down. Not a real need for any of that. So yeah. So now we have some lights powered by Create. We have our wheat farm. We have a chocolate farm. We have Blaze cake. I'm thinking for consistency's sake and to finish it all off, somewhere in this space, maybe right over the top of our head somewhere in the corners there, we'll go ahead and put in the machine to make brass. It doesn't take much. I think it's just, I think we actually use blaze cakes for that. So we could technically plug in off in this the blaze cake farm and run that up there to make our brass. And we may actually end up doing it that way. I don't know. That's for another day. It's for another time. Probably tomorrow during Saturday morning coffee. But on to the main event. What we came here to do was, I promised last week we would do it, so we will get this done today. So we will start. Oh, we'll start here. Why not? We'll just start here outside. So what we'll do is we'll go into spectator mode and we'll take a flyby through this area. And we'll look at what's going on outside versus what goes on underneath that you can't see. I think it's interesting to see stuff like this. And I think it's worthwhile to be able to see that. So once again, here we are on the outside. We have our colony walled in, protected, safe. And then we have the mansion tucked in between the mountains. We have our old lab back in there. We have a few farms. So this is just to give you an idea of what we have going on the outside. That's all this is for. So now that you can see what is going on the outside, that looks a little funny. Oh, okay, it's just my imagination. So we'll start. Oh, that's the wrong direction. Over here underneath the colony. So one of the first things that you'll notice as we go underneath the colony here is that we have a rail track. This was the subway line, used majority by our people going back and forth a long distance. We also have a huge tunnel system dug underneath of it. Now that is entirely done by the miner. Just kind of let him go and do his thing. And so if you wanted to know what a miner's tunnel system looked like, there you go. Now this is the 1.16.5 version. I think the 1.18 looks a little different, but I could be wrong. But yeah, so he's actually got 2 floors worth of tunnels, so it's worth it or I guess 3 floors. So we've actually pulled him up a couple floors to dig out these tunnel systems. So they're fairly extensive, fairly large. And they sit underneath the entirety of the colony. So as we return back towards the surface area, so here is the little room. This used to be Shale's place when she was over here. This is where she operated out of. But it's now our teleporter area that has a mechanism portal back into the main base. So as we continue to follow the subway line, we will see that subway line, there are stairs everywhere. And the subway line actually runs all the way across and around the underside of the colony. So that's a lot of what we have going on underneath the colony. Now, a lot of care was taken to to cover up these caves and or seal them off where it was necessary. Just so I didn't have to deal with things walking inside. If we look directly above our barracks, is actually the new storage facility that we built a couple of streams ago. This includes our whole cabled wiring for our networking wall, as well as over here is where we put in our immersive engineering. What are these? I can't think of what these things are called. Metal press. There you go. And so these each have a different recipe plate on them. So for making iron plates to copper wires, iron rods, and a few other little odd items. But as you look and see, so there's our mostly expensive kit room. This is the room where we do all of our ×5. Again, a lot of this is situated right on top of the colony, like blocks away from the colony. It made for interesting trying to balance not stepping into the colony. So yeah, like right here is the this square grayish block you see here is the wither farm for nether stars. That's our magic area over there. This is our mob spawning room. So this is the boss area. Then this is the area right above it, which is off our main hallway drag. So all of this stuff is very, it's kind of set right on top of each other itself. It's like everything is within blocks away. And so if you're ever wondering what caused the rooms to be the way they are, this is the primary reason that the rooms are the way they are, is because I've got them pretty jam-packed right on top of each other. So this is our bone meal farm. I should probably just turn this thing off because there is enough bone meal. I don't know what I ever get done. Yeah, 11,000 stacks of bone blocks. I don't even want to hazard a guess what that number is in actual bone meal. This is, of course, our pink slime farm. Yeah. So here is our portal room underneath a water area. It's got room for more expansions this way if I wanted to. So if we had more portals to put in for people coming and going. Of course, there is our warped wood farm. So you can see a little bit of what's going on with that. Here is the rest of the mechanism stuff. So like the nuclear reactor, the wind turbine, our fusion generator. So, you know, if you wanted to see below the surface, this is what some of that looked like. And then way out over there is... oh yes, this is our tree farm, which is currently not working because I think the tree beacon actually needs some starlight, and since I don't actually have a line straight on up, it's just trees right now. But there's our charcoal farm. That's still working. And our seaweed farm. That's still going. And then, yes, right down over here off to the side is our create room that we've been working on. So I remember we were talking last week that we tried doing seed oil. Seed oil really wasn't cutting it. So we have a pump jack. Here is that pump jack. This was the spot I was trying to put it in, but there's no crude oil to get pulled up. So, just give you an idea of there's still a lot of space here that we could build some other rooms in and do some other things, even expand out our create contraption area if we really wanted to. Still a lot of space down here to do so. Just don't know what we're going to do. That said, here you go. Here's what it looks like underground at my base. How cramped in some cases, or not cramped in other cases, that it actually is. I tried to keep a lot of my wiring as simple as possible. This is a cluster. I am willing to freely admit to the fact that this is an absolute cluster. Could it be fixed? Absolutely. Am I going to fix it? No, because it just works. I just don't really care. So it'll stay the way it is. So you can see inside of a battery, we actually have space for 10 more upgrades worth that go in there. I don't know that I'll ever get around to making all 10 of those. The amount of resources it takes to make that, while doable, it would probably take me 6 months to finish filling that up. Unless I turbocharged my... I would have to turbocharge my farms that are currently creating those devices, or those resources. So yeah, so as we run around in here, just think about the fact that exactly how tight everything actually is. Right here, we're right over top of the colony. A lot of this place is over top of the colony. Feel like I missed a spot, and I think I did. I think I missed the old laboratory area. So this was right here. This was the original. This was the original storage system that I was using early on. And then we went create. So I had put in these crate chests over top of smart chutes, and you actually can't. No, you can't really see it. You can see it if you look right here, the square plate. Oh, there we go. Wow. So there's a controller, and that controller is plugged to this wall. So each one of these walls has its own separate controller. I had these crates over top of the chutes because I can turn the chutes on or off or filter them. And so the idea here was that I was bringing in large stacks of supplies that I would just drop the blocks down, or pull this crate out and stick a new crate in over top of it and just let it filter into the system down here. And so it would just pour into one of these slots as was necessary. I think the refined storage system uses that storage system a whole lot more than I ever did. By the way, none of this stuff is in there like I put it in there. This is entirely refined storage, just sticking things wherever it wants to. This tunnel right here that you see right next to this enchanting table, which was my original enchanting table, this goes down to the colony. So this was attached to a drop box. You can see the little brass funnel there. So I could make stuff upstairs next to all of my storage. And this actually ran right here, which is right under. So I could stand here at this carpet, craft whatever I need to, throw it at my feet. And it would go down to the colony, delivery folk down there at Colony would just come by, pick it up, and then take it to whoever was asking for it. So it was a nice little system. So I didn't have to go downstairs when feeding like a builder or handling some other requests from somebody in the colony there. But so this area is really kind of tightly just reined in here, inside the peak of the mountain. You can see this was the first iron farm. We actually ran on it's a double cobblestone generator, and it's like really butted up next to the dye shop, as it were. Space got a little tight here at this point. But yeah, so basically this just feeds down into a chest down there. And so what I had it doing is it would not dump out of that chest until a full stack was made. And so that way we were only ever processing full stacks of cobblestone at a time. It got us to a point where we could make the absolute most amount of iron per time spent on it, rather than just sending one through there. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. It was just a lot of stuff going for not a whole lot. As it sits right now, it's not even used anymore. So there you go. How about that for? And we have, of course, standard staple sugarcane farm. And then over here is our other create contraption area. So a lot of this is legacy design. This was just me playing around. And really, this is probably the most inefficient way to do a lot of things, but I didn't really care. I was just running belts because I like watching moving parts. So this is, again, another cobblestone generator. That's it. And so it too generates, I think, 2, 4, 6, generates 8 cobblestone at a time. And so the cobblestone all gets double ground twice. I think this one we'd have to come back and check it with the create tool. I think this is actually set to split, so some of the gravel that comes from the cobblestone is sent that way, and some of the gravel is sent over here. That was done intentionally so that we could do concrete. And then, yep, there's sand and flint and clay on the belt still. So that's because this signal right here is turned on. This is set up so that it pulls all the clay and sand and throws it down here to the secondary washer. This was done just to get clay where we dropped it here. This fan system, when it runs, it basically smelts the clay blocks into terracotta, and then all of that runs back upstairs, goes all the way across to the iron farm, where it gets crushed into red sand and then washed in our 3-way washing machine. And that was done to make gold at one point. Obviously, we're not using that for gold anymore, so not a big deal. And I think the last room is this guy over here, and this was just done because we were trying to figure out. So this is eternal crystal, and there was a question as to whether or not you could make a farm to make eternal crystal. And to that end, I built this machine, which basically you hit the button, and it will feed through and do the recipe for the better end forge to make eternal crystals. So the answer would be is yeah. The only thing you would have to do is make an end crystal machine, which technically I guess you could hook that up to refined storage, and refined could make the end crystal. And then it's just making certain that you have enough of the other items to feed into the system. This was all just like a trial run, proof of concept. Bazinga was one of the guys who asked about it because he was curious as to if it could be done or not. And so I think I built that because he was curious as to whether or not we could do it. And then I don't know what he's ever done with that or not, if he's even tried to use it. So there you go. That's my place anyways. But enough about me. Let's go and take a peek at Bazinga and Astria's place. They would be the next largest individual's base out here. So there's 3 really large bases, and then there's a couple of bases, including shales that are not as elaborate underground. Though Shale's place, I tell you what, let's go do Shale's real quick, because while it's not like super elaborate, it is interesting to see what her place looks like from spectator mode. That's not it. This is hers. So if we go, into spectator mode, again, this is what it looks like on the outside. Where Shale's work area is this tiny little spot right here. So nothing like super fancy. Apparently she liked these goblins for some reason, so she captured them. She used to have storage drawers along these walls. I guess she's removed them and stuck everything inside of her storage system there. There's an arm. But yeah, so that's her power system. It's actually a fairly efficient power system for as long as you don't need like super massive amounts of power. But yeah, so here's her place above ground. We can see a lot of what goes on there. It's still an impressive looking space. Saplings everywhere. But when you stick your head downstairs, that's where things start getting a little interesting. Right, so I think this at one point was part of her mine, but I think she ripped out the mine. It's interesting that it's still floating around. But as you can see, there is, like I said, there's a lot going on underground. And this used to all be filled in with stone and whatnot, and she's dug a lot of this out by hand herself, and her builders also got in here and dug an awful lot of this stuff out. But yeah, she is definitely one of those iceberg theory comes to mind, right? So here's her miner, and it looks like she's got a couple of miners, or she's built the miner a couple of times and have moved them around. I'm not really certain which that is, but the tunnel system from this guy is fairly extensive. Fairly extensive. If I didn't know any better, I'd say this is another. Yeah, this was another miner. I wonder if this is the one that she had that problem with. He was making everything out of wood, and then I think at one point she had a miner that opened up a lava vein or something, and like burnt down the entire mine. It was actually was a thing. So that may be what that is remnant from. But yeah, her miner, like any of the mine colony miners, just digging tunnels, plethora of tunnels. It's its own labyrinth down here, as it were. And even here on her colony's second floor below ground, it's a bit of a labyrinth. I don't know enough of it to know my way around. I don't know the buildings and the layout well enough. But yes, very much, Shale is an iceberg, so to speak, in that she's got almost twice as much going on underground as he does above ground. Yeah, the output input, I gave her access to my ×5 ore generation so she could throw stuff in and get stuff back out the other side. So back over here to Astria and Bazinga. So I showed me and Astria took a little spin around underneath here just to see what all was going on. Yeah, I forgot he put these dragon heads around here. I should come here and put some mustaches on them. Anyways, so above ground, that's a fairly impressive structure he's got going on. Sorry. Really kind of just huge. And then when we stick our heads below ground, you can see over here where his miner's at. His miner's gone all the way down. His miner has been, you know, pretty good and productive, like most miners would be. He's dug all kinds of tunnels every which way. I have no idea where his miner's even working at this point. And then back over here. Doesn't look like there's too terribly much going on this side of his place, though there is a... Oh, yes. That's right. I remember helping him kill this boss. So there's one of those, like, giant stone golems or something. It was right underneath this house. And I came over and helped him kill it a while back. I wonder if he knows he's got that over there. That's very... Oh, well, obviously he knows about it because it's very well lit up. All those torches through there. Interesting. So let's take a jaunt over here. So this is right underneath his I don't know. It's a player house. I think he had them built this. So this is... I don't remember what the name of the player house is, but it's a Mine Colonies player house that you can have him build. And he has expanded on that. So there is a mechanism teleporter. And then here is the Subterranean Basement. Now, I think, if memory serves me correctly, this is actually leftover of another Mine Colony player house that he had put right here, except he ripped the top half of it off and replaced it. So a lot of what we're seeing is what he had before then. But so like this is his living area, his storage, where he does a lot of his main work at. He obviously has his I'm assuming these are probably... Yep, dye mixers. Okay. So he too has dye mixers. And these are probably some of where he's... So I think, yep, you can just see him right there. Occasionally a hand pops that out. See that? So he's probably feeding... if I had to take a stab at it, he's probably feeding bone meal to these things. And so they are producing his dye for him. Boiler room. So yeah, you can see a lot of... So this was a lot of his living area. This was also a cute little spot he had. Basically prison cell for his goblins that he found. And then right below me, I believe, is... Yes, you can see the spawners here. So this was the spawner room where he was farming mob drops, as it were. I think this is another spawner room. But this one, I think, used to just drop him straight down, and then there was a mob crusher to kill him. I don't know what he's doing with that one nowadays, if he does anything with them. This would be his Tetra area. Yep, that's his Tetra area. You can see the powered hammer and everything. Not certain how he gets over here. I imagine there's a white elevator. So he probably comes from this point. So while he's gotten a fairly elaborate base, there's not as much underground as there is, but there is this weird tunnel right here. I imagine these are tunnels that he probably dug himself for reasons I have no idea. I'm not even going to try to spin that one. And then over here at Astria's place, looked like she was starting in on something, on a new room here. But yeah, here's her bathroom area. We were all having some pretty good fun in the bathroom. Horse playing around, that sort of thing. So she built this right underneath her little she shed. Sea shed. No, I think it's called a she shed. Anyways, yeah, so she built this little area underneath of here, and I think somewhere there it is. So she's got a little, well, they've gotten on and done a little something because that roof line's different. Yeah, so she built this little area down here under the water, so she can enjoy looking out into the water, I suppose. When Astria joined, it was, I guess it was her first time playing on a big, not really a big server, but on a server with other people. And so she was learning an awful lot as she was going along. And, you know, suffice it to say, I think what she has and what she's done has been pretty spectacular. She's done really well. So, there you go. There is Zynga and Astria's place. The other, and we've seen Shales. So after that, the other big person who's done a lot of work underground. So, you know, there's more below the surface than what's above it, would be Zoda. And we know a lot of his because, you know, we take the elevator down all the time to go into his place. So, take a big fly up so everybody can remember the Zoda's Italian sector. So there's his blood magic area with his rituals. Over here is the start of his train tracks. His astral sorcery area. Back over in that direction is his Britannia area. As we fly over here, so there's his Britannia stuff. And then in this direction, this is for his rune stuff for Mythic Britannia. And of course, a remainder of his train tracks to take you on back and around. So that's the external. So let's go poke inside. And so as we stick our head inside, we can see over here is his colony. And so it is definitely built in and underneath the mountain. It looks like it's fairly large size. Not certain what status he's in, though I can tell you it looks like not all of these buildings are done. But it's a fairly large size, spread out, I should say, spread out colony. But all tucked nice and neatly right underneath a mountain. I know we're flying right by it, and I know we're flying right by it, but this is his wall of mobs. So you can see some of them right there. So I'm not certain exactly how many he's got in this wall. I know that he saw my little haul of villainry and decided he was going to go big. So he's done a really good job of making this much bigger and much better than mine. This is his mob grinder in here. So that's where he gets all of his mob util stuff at. And then on the back end, let's, for the time being, give myself some remembered command. Rhythm, night vision, we'll do for 500 seconds. And we'll hide the bubbly effects. So here's his wiring. It's very, very nice, very neat, very uniformed. These are the wires he's running for all of his, for like the refined storage, for piping his, for his redstone signals, for piping power, for piping experience into the generators, for all that happy mess. And there we can see this a little better. I think somewhere over here. Yep, there it is. So there's a mob crusher right here. I imagine if there's one there, there's another one there. Yeah, so I figured as much. It's probably he's using 2 mob crushers to basically thrash anything that falls down. Eventually, everything makes its way down to the bottom and is slaughtered. Works good. It's much safer than it used to be in here, by far. Much, much safer. But, you know, that's what happens when you iterate. And so there's his main room. If you've been a part of the community sites, you've seen this room a couple of times. So here's a little behind the scenes magic. It looks so clean on the inside, and you come to the back side and you can see all the wires, all of the pretty stuff. That's a fairly heavy piece of redstoning. Not even going to try and figure it out at this point. I don't know. I know it's supposed to auto-harvest his bees. That's what I can tell you. So this is his Tetra Room. He was super excited about this when he got it in. I think it looks really good. This is where he did his Tetra stuff at. What is this? Wow. I didn't even know those were things, but apparently they are. And then, well, trying to find a good clearing space around here is... I didn't even realize this thing was actually still running. I think that's this pink slime generator machine right there. I had to take a stab at what it's doing. And so even Zoda here is like buttered right up against other things that he's been working on. It's interesting to see how some of this stuff works. And then here's his create room. It's a very big room that he's got available for himself in here. Looks very nice. If you'll remember a couple weeks back on a Saturday morning coffee, we were over here putting in his clay generator, which has now generated 19 stacks of clay bricks, or clay blocks. Yes, the Zoda flying earthenware materials. Now, this is unnecessarily complicated. And I know it's unnecessarily complicated. And I don't care that it's unnecessarily it's still fun to look at and watch. Basically, anything clay or flint that hits here is instantly pulled out, while the sand sits there and is washed to whatever it needs to be. The clay comes off the end and is basically shot into the box, and the flint is dropped early into this ender chest that he's got doing something. So, you know, here's his cobblestone generator and his grinding machine. And again, like I said, very tight right up against things. I think all of us who build our bases underground are always paying attention to, are always really space conscious and keeping an eye towards how much room we're actively using. So, there you go. Yeah, when he came over here, he found a place that was just like bustling with lots of caves and everything else. I mean, it was just cave rich, as it were. And then right up underneath here is the underside of his ritual area. Just give people an idea. And yeah, he has spent an awful lot of time doing the blood ritual stuff and whatnot. He has got quite the setup. I think he said he was ready for tier 6 if we ever got tier 6, but I don't think tier 6 is ever coming. So it is what it is. So there you go. There's the Ziltonian sector. Inside and above ground. Yeah, it's one of those people who, I think everybody who builds underground is just really conscious of, you know, where the edges of everything is. And you tend to build right up to the edge, and then you stop. That's a neat little spot. Wonder what caused that generation. Anyways, we all build right up to the very raggedy edge, and then we stop. So this is, we are over here in his astral sorcery spots. There's not really anything to see underground because astral sorcery is kind of predominantly done above ground. If you do it underground, you're just hurting yourself. And I don't think over here at his Britannia place, the peak underground, yeah, there's not really anything going on over here other than, you know, he's got a torch to reduce spawns over in this area. Well, there's not anything underneath ground that we're missing out on. So yeah, those are the big builders on the server that I know that do underground building. That is a tour of those of us who don't do too much terribly building above ground, but do an awful lot of building below ground. So there you go. beyond that, is there anything else that has actually occurred on the server? I think Kara's place may still be growing. This would be the latest place that is doing a lot of changing still. But I don't think too much has occurred since the last time we looked at it. Yeah, it doesn't look like too much has occurred since the last time we looked at it. Really hoping that she gets this place done. I would love to see what it looks like. But, you know, there we go. So as promised, we took time. We ran around in spectator mode. We stuck our nose underneath everybody's house. We stared at the dirty, dark secrets that you can't really see. Not from, you know, just running around watching people run around. I could take you to the Wellness and Success Center, but the Wellness and Success Center is exactly as it looks. If you've watched any of the streams, you've seen it top side and bottom side. You've seen it inside and out. There's not any real secrets left over there. The only other thing that we could do is take a ride on the Zoda train, but that's a very long ride. And I don't think we have enough time in the stream for that tonight. So, instead, we're just going to leave you with this. We will be here tomorrow morning for Saturday morning coffee. We look forward to having everybody join us. So I think we were building on the train that was supposed to go to the central hub from the Wellness and Success Center. We will probably return back to working on that and see if we can't knock out more of that track and at least get like a real track design going on over there for that one. As far as the create room goes, yeah, a brass machine would be the next big contraption that would probably need to go in down there. And I say brass because to make brass is zinc and basically we want to make crushed brass is what we're trying to make. And you do that by mixing copper and zinc ore. That is a heated gentleman. So actually wouldn't take too much. It really wouldn't take too much to make. This is just painfully stupid. We'll probably make a little brass machine. Because why not? We could have it hooked into the system to be able to produce brass regularly enough. They don't know that it's really all that much needed. But it would give us brass, and we wouldn't have to run upstairs into the old lab to cook it in the immersive engineering's alloy machine, which is slow. So we could just make brass ourselves. Yeah, about that. But yeah, you can alloy it this way. So that's a stone smelter. You can use the alloy kiln and make it, which is fine, I guess. But I think it would be more fun to actually set the system up to do it the create way. So it's literally just going to be a heated guy. So yeah, we can throw that up real quick. That won't take much of anything to do. So we'll throw together a quick brass making machine and a way to keep him fueled and always running. So that'll be quick and easy, and then we'll get back to work on our railway system going to Central Hub from the Wellness and Success Center, and then we'll see what happens after that. So I look forward to seeing everybody here tomorrow morning. I hope you have enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for hanging out tonight. This has been our community night, and this has been